Thank you.
All right, welcome everyone to the May meeting of Locac. Sue, could you do a roll call?
Sure. Trish.
I'm present.
Sue. Deborah.
Present.
Lynette. Jan. Jan's here, right? Yes. Hi,
Yeah, I
Jan.
just have to unmute her. Okay.
Larry.
Present.
Sandra.
Yep.
Tim. And Jim.
Did he
Okay.
come in yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, here he comes.
Is Jim here?
I just admitted him.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 9. So we have a quorum.
And Lynette is very sorry. She had a family emergency and cannot be here tonight. So for the first announcement I have is that I want to recognize Sandra for her service. And it came from Bruce Gibson and the Board of Supervisors for all of your service,
thanks.
great work, and with gratitude for your dedicated service to the Los Osos Community Advisory Board.
Oh,
So,
sweet. Thank you.
And I will get it to you, don't worry. Do we have any council member announcements tonight?
This is Jan Harper. I just wanted to remind everybody to vote. Everybody got a vote by mail. You can either take care of that, mail it, drop it off at a library, or drop it off at a polling place. Just remember to vote by the 7th of June.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements from the council? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Let's go ahead and jump into the county and local agency reports. First off would be the sheriff's report with Sergeant Doughty.
Hold on. I just have to find, what's the first name? Is it under?
I'll help you. Jason Graham. You know, I don't see him. Then let's just go ahead and go to Lieutenant Graham in the meantime until we find him.
Okay, hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thanks for having me. We just have 5 incidents to report. We'll start off with 2 DUI arrests. The first was on the 15th at about 12:48 a.m. It was in the Ralph's parking lot there in Los Osos. The second was on the 16th at about 11:30 p.m. That was at Paso Robles and 16th. We had 1 DUI collision. It was at Los Osos Valley Road in Turi at 2:45 in the morning on the 2nd. It was a solo vehicle into a pole, and I think it hit some of the guy wires as well. We had a hit and run collision on the 4th. Minor vehicle versus another vehicle, a parked vehicle, minor damage, non-injury. Santa Ynez at Fairchild. And then 1 collision on the 2nd at 6:50 in the morning. It was a solo vehicle, Los Osos Valley Road at Willow. That was it from us.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the CHP from the council? Okay. Any questions from the community? I see a hand up from Patrick's iPad.
Thank you. Officer, I'd like to know if you could briefly just tell us what the traffic rules are now for electric vehicles. And I don't just mean cars, but scooters and motorcycles and single wheels and skateboards. And, you know, we've got kids that are 7 and 8 years old that are riding these things that are going 20 miles an hour and stuff like that. And what, do we have any rules yet for those kind of vehicles?
You know, I'd have to look that up to be certain because I haven't really studied up on that in a while. As far as I know, if it's in the roadway, it's considered a vehicle. And so you're going to have, you know, helmets on if you're under 18 and all that jazz. But I have to look on the skateboards. I'm not, you know, I haven't looked at that in a while. I'll have to look at that and get back to you. Do you want to provide an email address or a phone number?
Sure. Sure. So it's PATINDI@AOL.com. So it's not so much just the skateboards and stuff, but mostly, you know, these small, they're like motorcycles, except they're electric. And we've got kids that are 7 and 8 years old riding those things, you know. So
Okay. Yeah, if it's a plated vehicle, they're going to have to be licensed. I realize a lot of them probably are supposed to be plated, but I'm assuming that. So yeah, people are buying them and just not following the law. But yeah, I'll look into that and let you know.
I appreciate
And as far
it.
as- Yep. If it's electric bicycle, it's just like any other bicycle. We'll
Right.
see a lot of those too. Mhm.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, any other questions from the public? Well, Lieutenant Graham, thank you so much for your report tonight. Let's go to Corey Hahn for the County Planning Department.
Hey everyone, this is Corey Hahn, County Planning. So I sent over those reports to Locac. I hope that everyone got them. I'm available for any questions about that as appropriate. And I was also asked to give an update on our study on retrofits. That's still going on. That's not been completed yet. Currently, we're anticipating probably completion of that around October or November. But stay tuned. I can definitely give an update as we find out more, but it's still with our consultant right now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody in the council have questions as far as the data that Corey was kind enough to send to us for the Title 19? Sue, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey. Hi, thank you very much for sending the data. We have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. The first is that we were interested in finding out what's going on ministerially. And we see a lot of minor use permits and public hearings, but things like people getting their permits to cut down trees, et cetera. Is any of that stuff available for us to get?
Yeah, we so I actually ran a report for tree removal for the past 2 months. There has not been any applications for that. That's the reason why the reports do not include any tree removals. If there
Okay.
are any tree removals during the the time that I'm running these reports, I'm running them monthly now. They will definitely be included as part of the reports that are sent over.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question that I had, I think I emailed you that you didn't respond to me. It's in regard to things like, for example, DRC, where is it? 218-00204. It's a vacation rental permit that says it's pending process or something, and it says it's tentatively approved, and it was denied by the Board of Supervisors on appeal. So what does this mean exactly? Can you tell me?
What was that permit number again?
2018-00204. It's in the middle of the first page that you sent us. 670 Santa Lucia Avenue.
I could take a look into it and provide an update later in the meeting, if that's okay, or
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful.
Right, I
Thank you.
mean, I have the declaration of the Board of Supervisors denying that, just flat out denying it on appeal. So why, so I'm very curious to know why it's here. So if you could find out, that would be great.
yeah, I can definitely look into it. Sometimes if there's a denial, it could have been just the system was not updated. And that could just be a clerical error. But I'll look into it, and if that's okay, I can report back later on the later in this meeting.
Yep, that would
Thank
be
you.
wonderful. Supervisor Bruce Gibson, I see you're here tonight. Do you have any report for us?
I'm unmuting or asking him to unmute.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. A pleasure to be with you this evening. There is one Los Osos specific issue coming before the board at our next meeting, which is June 7. And that is the board's final action on the Los Osos vacation rental ordinance. You may remember the board passed the ordinance essentially as developed and passed through our planning commission. It went to the Coastal Commission for certification as consistent with the Coastal Act. They made one relatively minor change and changing the distance standards. So the distance of a vacation rental is only from another vacation rental. And it doesn't count things like homestays or other visitor serving uses like hotels, motels. That's, again, fairly minor. It doesn't really change the overall because the total cap on 50 vacation rentals remains in place. The board's agendized action is to accept that modification, and that starts, again, the end process of that becoming part of our local coastal program. It's scheduled, we just did an agenda review this afternoon, and it's scheduled to be the last item of the morning on June the 7th, but I have no idea when that might actually be in terms of Pacific Daylight Savings Time. So the agenda will be out Wednesday to the public next week, and you can see the staff report on that. Other than that, general things, our 2022-23 budget has been introduced, and it's headed toward budget hearings that'll start on Monday, June 13th. Scheduled for 3 days, but recent years, typically one full day gets us through the budget, even as it is it's a substantial document, actually. I happen to have it here at home. There it is in all its gory glory. It's $750 million of all funds spending, 23 different departments, hundreds of different programs, and hundreds of different lines of revenue and expense. It's an all year round process for our staff to get this together. We did have to close a $12 million gap between expected revenues and what it would take to continue county services as they have been, and a combination of what we call structural cuts and application of some of our reserve funds is going to get that done. We're not out of the woods. The projection for next year is we're going to have a similar size gap to have to fill. So the uncertainty of coming out of COVID is a big deal. The other thing I might point you to, also agendized for June 7th, is an item that proposes to repeal the county's inclusionary housing ordinance. And that is something that I think is of considerable concern as we struggle through a crisis in affordable housing. The inclusionary housing ordinance requires that if you build, a certain number of houses, that some number of them be actually set aside as deed restricted affordable, whether they be constructed by the developer if they're doing a large development, or if it's a one home project, a fee gets paid that goes into a fund that we use to fund affordable housing units. That fee only applies to homes over 2,200 square feet. So it really only affects some fairly high-end properties at this point. But the board majority has determined that somehow this is imposing an impediment to market rate housing developers trying to build affordable housing units. We'll have a robust discussion of that on June 7th as well. So those are the two, the budget and that item, as well as vacation rentals, are the things that I think are most relevant to Los Osos, and I'd be pleased to take your questions.
Any other questions for Supervisor Gibson from the council?
Yeah, Larry.
Bruce,
Larry?
yeah, Bruce.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Public Works seems to think giving away our public land. They wrote a letter saying, some of our streets are 90 feet wide and they don't need to be that wide. And so that if applicants wanted to, they could take part of that land. We had this with First Street and a few other streets here in Los Osos. And I don't think it's right for Public Works to be giving away public lands. We've got our new community plan coming up. We've got ideas we'd like to see happen here in Los Osos of bikeways and walkways and paths. And it's just not appropriate to just give away our land to private property.
Mhm. Well, I certainly, I saw Locac's letter on that from your last meeting, and I understand the sentiment. I think now you are in receipt of a response back from Public Works showing that in the particular instance that you had commented on, that right of way is 80 feet wide, that other relinquishments of portions of that right of way have been conducted, including a property that's adjacent to the one in question. And what Public Works is clear on is that at least a 40-foot wide public right-of-way remains along that corridor. So the kinds of issues that you raise, which are completely reasonable about, the ability to construct bike lanes, even the ability to construct roads, remains open there in terms of the analysis that Public Works brought forward. It's not clear to me exactly what the next steps in that particular proposal are, but I suppose eventually it would end up before the Board of Supervisors. So that's the way that Public Works looks at it. Again, it is not a complete abandonment of a public right-of-way.
Okay. Let's go to more council members. The next one I see, I think Sue's hand was up first, and then we'll go to Deborah.
Thanks, Bruce. Just to clarify what you were talking about, a lot of us have been on that path, and it may be 40 feet wide, but there's about 2.5 feet of path. It's all overgrown.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, out here, we're not allowed to touch county property. They get really mad. And we've tried many times to, do projects to clean things up. They won't let us touch it. So in essence, this quote 40 foot, I don't know where that 40 foot is because they've already taken away 20 of it. And of the 20 that might be left, there's about 2.5 feet that there is an actual path. So it's a little bit not accurate, the statement from the county, as far as it being just this wide swath of land that's available. That's not exactly the case right here. So
so let me just tell you, I'm quoting from memory here. I don't have the actual memo in front of me, but again, the total public right-of-way there is 80 feet wide from one property line to another property line.
And Bruce, I have it right here in front of me. It says the portion of Skyline Drive between Doris and Fern Avenues is not necessary for vehicle traffic circulation.
Right.
Additionally, the retained 40-foot width will remain accessible for public use along the existing informal paths or any future multi-use path.
Right.
So they're giving away 20 feet and they're saying that 40 feet are remaining, according to this letter.
Right. And as to the question of the path and the ability to expand it, that is pending the approval of the Habitat Conservation Plan that we have been working on seemingly forever. But planning indicates to me that process may be completed by late summer. All signatures, I's dotted and T's crossed at that point. So there will still be outside of private property, there will be a 40-foot wide swath. And once the HCP is in place, that'll make it a lot easier to expand path, modify vegetation, and do all the things that would make it a really nice public amenity.
Let's call on Deborah next.
Yes, hi, thank you, Bruce. We're looking forward to the HCP getting approved because we have a Safe Routes to School for Baywood Elementary that has a sidewalk that's been put on hold because of finding the Morro Bay snail. And so I find it curious, and I don't know if you can enlighten me, but how is it that you can take 20 feet of open space, give it to somebody, allow them to fence it off and put in whatever landscaping they want, and not have a concern about snails or sensitive habitat. But when we want to build a sidewalk for safe routes to school, we can't do that. So it just seems perhaps there's something that I'm missing here.
Mhm. Well, it's an interesting question that, as to what the property owner could do should that relinquishment go through. The conditions of not disturbing threatened and endangered species remain. And, I'd have to really look into that, but the action that's being considered is only to change the boundary line of the property. The establishment of fences or any other modification of that land is a separate issue. We'd really have to dig into exactly what that looks like. And again, same thing. I get the frustration of not being able to easily create a path or a dog park or a number of other projects that have been held up because of the Endangered Species Act. But that's exactly why we have pushed for so long to get this HCP finished.
Yes, we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, next would be Dave and Bev.
Hello, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Actually, this question was for Corey Hahn, because you didn't call for a public comment on that,
You
but
know what? I'm going to bring Corey back right after Bruce Gibson.
Okay,
So if you
that's
don't
fine.
mind holding that question, and then
Hold it.
let's finish this
That's
first.
fine.
Then let's go to Lindy, please.
Hi, Bruce. Good evening. I have two questions. I was just trying to update a little bit of what's going on with the homeless facility out at Oklahoma and how fast that expansion is going to happen. Because Palisades is now beginning to get creeping in slowly, a whole new, many of the returning homeless people. That's one question. The other was, I'm so confused about the election and the redistricting map, but I'd like to know, after the June election, are you still our supervisor until the November election? That's my confusion. And if you have any updates on what's happening with the lawsuit against the redistricting, because I don't understand how that isn't addressed before this election, because it complicates the election, obviously. So thank you.
All right, good. To answer the second question first, I'm your supervisor if you want me to be your supervisor. I can talk a little bit more about that in detail. The expansion of what we started calling Kansas is now called the Oklahoma Safe Parking Site. My last conversation with our admin staff was that they hope to have that completed by June the 10th. There were some security issues and, making sure that that site as expanded didn't conflict with some other adjacent uses along Kansas and Oklahoma avenues. So we're hoping that is the case. That expansion should provide enough capacity to, provide the alternative that we need to be able to relocate folks off of Palisades. And I visit Palisades occasionally, and that I understand that there are a few cars and RV or two starting to repopulate the area. So this is going to be an ongoing challenge for us to keep ahead of safe parking capacity. We're also working to set rules within the Oklahoma site that are channeling folks into connection with services that will find them permanent housing. And that's a fairly recent change in the contract that folks who use that site have. And we're coming up about any time now on seeing how that's going to start changing the dynamic there. As to the redistricting, again, I think you're all familiar with the changes in the second district, that Los Osos has been separated from the old second district and put in a new fifth district. Morro Bay and a big chunk of the city of San Luis Obispo have been separated from the old second district, put into a new third district. And the new second district has been extended to include the city of Atascadero and the community of San Miguel and the areas around Heritage Ranch. So the question, it has caused an incredible amount of confusion. There is no doubt about that. The bottom line, though, and I'll give you a little bit of explanation of this, but let me get to the bottom line. As to who any individual or organization or jurisdiction wants to interact with on the Board of Supervisors is up to that individual organization or jurisdiction. There is nothing in county statute that gives a particular elected supervisor any authority or responsibility or privilege about representing any particular geographic part of the county. We are all 5 equals making decisions only as a board of 5 by majority vote to take care of the business of the county. The idea that a particular supervisor represents a particular part of the county is based on custom and etiquette and protocol. You know, and it makes sense, right? A certain geographic area elects a certain elected official. That elected official has something like a contract with those folks who elected him and those who didn't, you know, whether they voted for that supervisor or not. There's a sort of a matter of honor, a matter of moral contract there that those are the people that that person will particularly represent. But again, that is not in statute. That is not written down in any county code that a supervisor is required to do specific things for a particular part of the county. So with this radical redrawing of the districts, essentially custom and etiquette have been thrown out the window, if you will. And it's resulted in a variety of problems, and I can talk what little I know about the situation with the lawsuit, but it has caused, you know, what I termed to be orphaned communities like Los Osos. You've been put into a 5th district. The current 5th district supervisor was not elected by anybody in Los Osos. And nominally, the 2nd district that I'm the 2nd district supervisor now represents an area that doesn't include Los Osos. But the reality of it is that, you know, you are able to choose what supervisor you want to interact with. That is your choice. And as it stands right now, my understanding, and Blake can confirm that, is that when constituents, you know, and residents of Los Osos have raised issues of wanting to interact with the county on whatever it is, roads or permits or whatever it is, if they've contacted the 5th district office, the 5th district office has forwarded that request back to us. And that's fine. We're happy to continue to represent Los Osos. Whatever the future is, the future is. But as it stands right now, if you, you know, if you have an issue in Los Osos that needs some attention and you want to contact us directly, that's fine. That's no problem whatsoever. You know, as to the lawsuit, it got taken to court. A preliminary injunction, or an injunction of having that map go into effect was denied. So the map is in effect. The elections of 2022 are very clearly going to be run on the newly adopted map. It does not appear that actual lawsuit is going to get heard in court before the end of the year or possibly early next year. So once that happens, the court will render its decision. I tend to think that the court's going to find that map did not meet with California election code and it's going to get overturned. But what happens then is completely unknown to me. What the remedy of that is, I don't even want to speculate, because there's no easy fix to having run an election on a map that's deemed to be non-conforming. So Stay tuned. Life is interesting, you know, as they say, may you live in interesting times, and so we do. So I hope that answers.
Thank you. Let's go to Larry next, and then we'll go to Deborah.
Hi, Supervisor Gibson. I just wanted to clarify, I'm not sure I quite, this has to do with the 40-foot right-of-way.
Mhm.
So typically the numbered streets have an 80-foot right-of-way and the pavement is about 25 feet, which leaves about 27 and a half feet on both sides of the pavement. If we go to 40 feet, that would only leave about 7.5 feet on each side of the pavement. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we can do the math. You know, the idea is that an 80-foot wide right of way, if we relinquish, if a property owner asks and the action is taken, and that again depends on a vote of the Board of Supervisors, if 20 feet on one side of that right of way is relinquished to one property owner and 20 feet on the other side is relinquished to another property owner, that leaves a 40-foot wide right of way. What Public Works is saying is that is adequate to serve whatever circulation needs they imagine in the future, whether it's a bike trail or a road or, you know, whatever it is.
So about 7.5 feet basically past the pavement. I mean,
again,
the pavement's already there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on, you know, what a particular street is going to get paved to traveled way and all the rest of that. That's a subject for engineering. But out of a total of 40 feet of right of way, the thought is there can be 2 travel lanes and adequate shoulders produced there.
Okay, thank you.
Deborah.
Bruce, I just wanted to follow up with your comment about the Board of Supervisors is to represent all of the county and not just their special district. And intellectually, that makes sense. But we all know that if you live in an area and if you have an understanding of the special issues about a coastal community, that you have a greater affinity for that. And that's what I think we're really concerned about, is that when we're attached to these agricultural areas to someone who might not really know about our coastal community in the most intimate ways that we would perhaps need, then it creates a disconnect there. And I think that's really why we're feeling a lot of anxiety about this, quite frankly. And I think you understand that.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's not about me. Let's make that clear. The drawing of these supervisorial districts is not about me as an elected official. It's about you as voters and residents being able to choose the elected official that you want to have represent them. And you know, that one of the absurdities of the adopted map is that you stand on the beach in Cayucas, where I live, you look down the coast, you see Morro Bay, you see Los Osos, those sit in 3 different supervisorial districts. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And, you know, and that's why I say it's really up to you. And that's why I'm expressing my willingness. In fact, I'm more than glad to continue to represent Los Osos and associated areas. You know, as you know, I've spent some years getting to know your community, and am happy to use that experience to continue to represent you. I'll just finish by saying I always have talked about my job in three parts. One of them is to advocate and represent the folks who have elected me from a particular district. The second part is to administer the county as one of a member of a board of 5 as to do what's right for the entire county. And the third part is to represent the county to the outside world, the state and the federal government. So all those things have a balance, but it starts with an understanding of a deep understanding of the community from which you come. So, you know, I think all of this we will get reconciled eventually through the courts.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Gibson. We appreciate your time tonight.
Tris. With that, I think I'm going to beg your indulgence with an exit. As usual, Mr. Fixler may hang around for a little while if you do
That
have
would be
questions.
great.
But again, happy to take your questions, your calls, or email whenever you like.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bruce.
Let's go back to Corey. He has some answers for us.
Hey everyone, Corey Hahn again, County Planning. So I looked into the application that was asked of earlier, DRC 2018-00204. It appears that that was originally approved at Planning Department hearing, and then it was subsequently appealed, and the original permit was denied by the Board of Supervisors. So the reason for that, the reason for it showing up the way it does in the report that was provided is because that application was approved at one point. And then when we have an appeal, when the appeal is filed, there's a new case file that's open for the appeal. So the appeal file is not DRC 2018-0021204. Rather, the appeal file is APL, which stands for appeal, 2019-0006. And that is the final action taken by the board, which denied the request for the vacation rental. So it's could be a little confusing because there's two file numbers we're talking about. There's the original file application, which was approved. So that's why it reflects that way. But the end result is that it was denied. I have emailed our supervisor in the coastal team to just bring that to her attention so that they can clear that up in terms of in our system to see if that, maybe it's just a cleanup item that needs to be done in our system. But the end result is, as Sue said earlier, it was denied.
Perfect. Let's go to Dave and Bev. They had a question for you, Corey.
Sure.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. My wife and I have attended just about every planning or land use meeting for about 5 years. And I recall a permit application for rebuilding a house or something on the property just west of the Van Bearden complex there at off of Los Osos Valley Road. I've noticed that there's a huge building that's being built in there now. And I just wondered, is that on the list of permits that you've presented? Because I don't see it.
I would probably have to do some digging to, maybe you can email me and I can provide my email. If you can email me the APN or the address of the property, I can see what was approved and whether or not, what the permit says. I can provide an update that way. Maybe that's the proper way to handle this question.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Robin McPeak.
Yeah, hey, good evening, Corey. I just would like a follow-up. In the March meeting, during your great presentation, you were talking to Locac about the coastal appealable zone, and you showed a map of what that is. Unfortunately, it was an old map and it didn't have the streets on it, so it was kind of hard to interpret. And you said that building and planning was going to update that to be a more useful, user-friendly map. Where are you at on that?
So the map itself, the one that I showed you, that would not be updated. Rather, it would be our GIS system on our website that we would try to make more user-friendly for the public. So the map itself is a certified map by the Coastal Commission. That would require us to go back to the Coastal Commission and request that the map change. So that's a pretty long process. I doubt you want to wait around to see that happen. Rather, what we're doing is working with our GIS team so that in land use view, some of you may be aware that on our county website, we have this GIS mapping system called land use view, where we can turn on layers that would show various information and data. We are still working on that because we're looking to update this for the entire coastal zone, not just Los Osos. So it's quite an undertaking, and our GIS team, they have a whole queue of items that they have to take care of. So we're still working on that, but I can definitely provide an update as as we hit certain milestones or whatever gets achieved. And yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for clarifying that it's not a map, but it's on your GIS. Appreciate that. Thanks again, Corey.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Corey. We appreciate your time and coming back with an answer so quickly.
Oh, Lindy has her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Lindy.
Hi, Corey. I have a couple of questions. The first one I'll just throw out is just general information about when you give roadway, abandoned roadway property to private owners. Is there money involved in that? Do those owners pay the county a certain amount to purchase our property, our community property? And do they pay taxes on it? So that's a quick question. The other question though, I don't know if you want to do it in two parts.
Yeah, I can answer that first part really quick. I am not, I'm with the Department of Planning and Building, so I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs of the Public Works Department's procedures. I do know that, there was a letter that was sent out, and that came from, I believe, John Waddell, the Deputy Director of Department of Public Works. He would probably be the better point of contact for a question like that. And I do know that this, it should be going back to the board ultimately for approval if it does go through. So I would direct those type of questions to Public Works, John Waddell or Valerie Ballister. If you like, I can provide the contact information for them if you don't already have it.
We have that information, Corey, and I'll make sure it's with the letter on the website, which is already on the website.
Okay, and Trish, if you could also provide my contact information, I believe
Absolutely.
I think it was Dave and Bev that
Yep.
asked that question that that can be emailed to me.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
Lindy, I'm asking you to unmute again.
Sure. Corey, the other, I just have a couple of comments about this active list of projects. Number one, if we could keep consistent with the DRCs, those are the minor use permits, as I understand, and list them by date rather. I mean, the date column is way at the end, but to me, I'm looking at some that are 2018. I'm looking at some that are 2020. I'm looking at everything all mixed together. We got cannabis, caregivers, we got a rental license. In other words, what we're trying to do is be able to look and see what new projects are coming forward. And we'd like to know the difference between which are minor use permit and which are being issued ministerially. So that's, I just think this list is appreciated, but it's really still not very helpful. And I wanted to say, you said there were no tree permits issued. 41522 ZON 2022-00339 over on, I think it's over in near Baywood, near Farmers Market. There was a big, probably 80-year-old tree that was just cut down. So, it is there, but all these things are buried. I think there's missing information. So those are my comments. I would love to see it updated and improved so that we can go down And at the bottom, we see the most recent. At the top, we see the oldest. And that they can be categorized a little bit by what they are. When they're an EXT 2018, that's one thing. A ZON is one thing.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can do something to make that go that direction a little better. Thank you, though. We do appreciate the steps to get
Yeah,
there.
I mean, it's I definitely could do that. Basically, you know, these reports I run, they kind of come out the way they come out. I can definitely reorganize them to make them a little more user friendly. I do want to point out that everything, all of the files or all of the applications on the active plans, because I sent 2 reports. There's one that says active plans and one that says active permits. Active plans, all of those are discretionary to a certain extent. If it says minor use permit, or it says appeal or conditional use permit or public hearing, which most of them say, the only ones that wouldn't be, like a business license, for example, or ZON, those are only ones that are ministerial. But I can definitely reorganize them to make them a little more user friendly or more readable. And you know, feel free to continue to give me comments on these things. This is a new thing I'm doing for everyone. And you know, if there's anything on these reports that would make it easier for you, I'm more than happy to hear it.
Thank you, Corey, very, very
It'd
much.
be great to have the ministerial added.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate all of your time. Let's move on to the CSD report. I'm not quite sure who in CSD is speaking tonight.
I
Ron
see
Munn,
Chris
maybe?
Momack. I asked her to unmute.
Okay.
I've unmuted. Hold on.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, I wasn't ready. Let me pull up my report. Okay, so hello. I guess I'll just jump in to our capital projects that we've been working on. The 8th Street Upper Aquifer Well Project. This is a Program A project from the Basin Plan. The well will pump from Zone C of the groundwater basin and is expected to produce 120 acre-feet of water per year. And this will allow for decreased pumping from the 8th Street lower aquifer well, which is part of the pumping strategy to decrease pumping from the westerly portion of the groundwater basin. So hopefully to reduce our saltwater intrusion. The district will receive about $240,000 in grant funding from the state to help offset the cost of the project. The cost of it is $370,000, so it's more than half. So I love seeing that. The project should be completed during the first week of June, so that's coming right on up. The next project is the 16th Street South Tank Rehabilitation Project. There's 2 tanks, the north and the south on 16th Street, that provide critical fire flow and operational capacity for the CSD water service area. The tanks were constructed in the 1970s and were in dire need of repairs and painting, which involve removing old paint down to the bare metal and reconstruction of the access and roof areas. The south tank work is nearly completed with a project cost of about $500,000. The north tank is scheduled for similar work next fiscal year. So I think our fiscal year is June to June, so we're almost done with this one. The third project, the program C well project, the drilling phase of this project is about to begin with the contract award going to Pacific Coast Drilling out of Templeton. The well is another critical component of the Basin Plan project list and will help offset the loss of production from the 8th Street lower aquifer well. The total project cost is estimated at $2.5 million, which includes well site drilling, site improvements, and the pipeline to connect the well to the CSD water system. The district did receive $1.5 million grant
from the state to help pay for the cost of the project. Completion of the entire project is projected to be June 2024. The other projects we're working on is the dog park. The concept plan for the dog park is complete. The district has allocated funds in the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget to move into the design phase. Design cost estimates range from $82,000 to $85,000. Funding for the designs and construction and the ongoing operations and maintenance are the key decision points that still need to be addressed. Like the county, it's the budget season, so the board will be reviewing the upcoming fiscal year's final budget at the May 5th board meeting. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Any questions from the public? No, great report, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Chamber of Commerce report. Lynette's not available tonight. Jim, are you going to be standing in for her?
I can. We are beginning planning for our Oktoberfest. We'll bring back the end of October, the 30th, I believe is the actual date. It's the last Sunday in October, and that planning begins right away. We had our first meeting, we've got to have a second meeting. I think that's probably the biggest thing going on right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move. Any questions from anyone, public or council, for Jim on the chamber? And Jim, I just want to thank the chamber once again for allowing us to hold our elections there. It was wonderful to be able to use that site. It was great. Let's go to public comment for items not on the agenda. 3 minutes max per person. Any public comments? Please raise your hand. All right, I'm taking that we have none. Could we please approve the minutes from our last meeting on April 28th?
I move approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Deborah, second. All right, all in favor, raise your hand. That I can see. Jim, I'm taking you as raising your hand.
Yes, I can't get my video on there.
Sue has her hand up.
Jan?
Jan?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm taking that as unanimous because it looked like I could see or hear from everyone. All right, let's go to committee reports. Deborah, for the treasurer's report.
Sure. Okay. So since last month, we earned 13 cents interest. We spent some money because of our outreach event, which I have to say, I think was extremely successful. We wrote checks for a total of $1,071.87. Just to remind you, we did receive a grant from the county to offset this cost. So we have an account balance in our checking account of $1,599. We do need to prepare, like everybody else, a budget for 22-23. So I asked that all the chairs of all the committees think about what their expenses might be. If you're going to be going to in-person meetings, I'm definitely going to need to include a rental cost in our budget. We've obviously haven't had that cost. It saved us a lot when we have Zoom meetings. But you know, I need to have whatever costs you think you might have. And if we're going to continue to do outreach events or newsletters, then please think about what that might be, and then send me an email. Let me know what your estimate would be for our budget going forward, because I would like to put the budget together for next month. Any questions?
Nope. Any questions from council? Okay, thank you very much. Larry, Land Use Committee.
Yeah, we had a few items on the at the meeting, and we'll be discussing those on the agenda. So That's about it for now.
Okay, thank you. Traffic and circulation, Jan.
Yeah, Jan Harper here. There's nothing critical coming up. Just want to remind people that if you notice an issue on either the street surface, visibility, vegetation, you need to call Public Works at 805-781-5252. If you have an issue on speeding that you notice on your street or in your neighborhood, it's good to give the CHP a call. And they're at 805-594-8700. The more details they have, the better. Meaning if you notice it's a morning issue or a midday issue or an evening issue on whatever street or intersection you're talking, that'll help them decide what to do and how to deal with it. As far as parking or obstructions in the street, that's going to be the sheriff, and they're at 805-781-4550. And if you want to just talk about those types of issues, you can call the Los Osos substation at 805-528-6083. And I just want to say that this, it's been a pleasure to work with everybody. This is my last meeting, and I'm sure somebody will take over traffic and circulation and do a spectacular job. Like I said, there's nothing critical coming up. If you have an issue with the county or the roads, be sure to call 781-5252. Put it in your cell phone. So when you're walking your dog or walking around, you can just call in and say, hey, I noticed vegetation, or I noticed the signage is down. It helps them, they don't live out here, we do. So whatever you can do to help them, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. Trees and landscaping, we're going to be looking for a new chair for that. So after we get all of our seats filled, which are going to be coming up later in the agenda, we'll talk about that. Outreach with Sandra.
Hi, so yep, the outreach event was a success, I think. It brought a lot of people out. It brought some new faces out. There was a lot of interaction with the community, thanks to the committee. It was like 3 of us or 4 of us just doing a lot behind the scenes to make it happen. And also all the organizations that came out that really made it feel like a community event that allowed to inform residents about the services available as well as the local issues happening. So hopefully this will be an annual event. I think you need to build it in the budget, Deborah, for next year for whoever wants to take it over to build that amount of money, if not more, to make it even bigger and better next year. And the newsletter, yeah, this is my last official meeting, so I'll help transition anybody that decides to take over outreach in that process. But yeah, it's been great. And I hope my time here has helped to get the word out and encourage people to get involved and participate and build community, because that's really what it's about.
It has been wonderful.
I mean, I think it's important to take a minute and just and 2 outstanding members of our Locac board who have carried some tremendous responsibility and carried out those responsibilities really well.
Yeah.
Her role and Sandra in her role, kudos. Yeah.
Kudos. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
You'll be missed.
Yes, very much so.
And if there's any way you want to change your mind before the end of the meeting, just
Yeah,
let us
really.
know.
It's too late now. I'll still be involved in the background.
I had to try one more time. Come on. All right. Thank you, Sandra. Deborah, for Ad Hoc Water Committee.
Okay, so If you came to the outreach event, you probably saw that the Basin Management Committee did a PowerPoint presentation. I understand it was very well received. I was not able to be in the room at that moment, but we did get a copy of the PowerPoint. It is posted on the Water Committee page. So if you'd like to see what Dan Heimel presented, you'll find it there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the BMC meeting, the last BMC meeting, so I don't have a report on that, but I will bring that back to the committee next month, whatever updates were contained in that meeting. And I know that they probably did talk about the Coastal Commission letter, which is a really big deal, and how that's going to be handled. So I promise you I will report back on that if we don't get into that later today in our meeting. That's it. That's my water report.
Great. Go ahead and transition into your active transportation.
Okay, so a little more to talk about there. As you all know, we've been really wanting to press for a safe routes to school on Los Osos Valley Road from the Baywood Elementary School to the community center. I went to SLOCOG board meeting on April 6th. It is a public meeting. I had 3 minutes, and in that 3 minutes, I advocated for this project. SLOCOG has a $7 million grant program that they were opening up, and I wanted to see if we could get our project funded. After that meeting, I spoke to John Waddell of Public Works. He was not supportive of our project. The Public Works prefers to do a corridor study of Los Osos Valley Road, and that would be a study that extends from Foothill Boulevard to Pacho Road. And so I really impressed upon him how important it would be that within this corridor study, if they would get detailed information about this section of Los Osos Valley Road, so that we could go to the next level and create a design, get a proposal, get some engineering done, and possibly even get this project constructed. So our conversation continues. I followed that up with meeting. I did a May 1st PowerPoint. If you were there, you saw my active transportation PowerPoint at the outreach event. That is posted on the active transportation page at Locac, our Locac website. So you can take a look at that if you want to know more about what we're talking about and thinking about. And one of the projects that we would like to have the county consider is creating a core loop where we would connect Baywood and Los Osos commercial districts, and a really cool way that we could do that for pedestrians and cyclists. So with that in mind, I went to the Bicycle Advisory Committee, to their meeting. That was on May 10th. I presented a slightly different PowerPoint to them. I talked to them about the projects we needed for active transportation. It was very well received by them. We looked at all the bicycle maps, what they have down for Los Osos for trails, not for trails, but for cycling paths. And then we also looked at Parks and Rec trails map to see where we could coordinate with what's already on paper for Los Osos and what we envision going forward. And fortunately, we did find some really good overlap. And I think Trish, since I'm not home, I'm out of town, she's gonna pull up that map for me, and I'll just share that.
That will be
I'm gonna, hold on, I have to
Sandra,
find it, sorry.
Okay. So this is a map of the Parks and Rec trails for Los Osos. And I had a one-on-one meeting with Sean Cooper, and we found a very good overlap with what they show as possible Parks and Rec trails. I don't know if you can make that bigger, Sandra.
It's kind of blurry,
yeah, that's good. So right in the middle of this map, you'll see some black lines that go from Los Osos Valley Road to Sweet Springs. That is a trail that we want, and it already exists on a map. So Sean felt like there was a real possibility that this could happen. And then if you follow around Sweet Springs, you'll see another black line that says Pismo Avenue. Keep going around Sweet Springs. Yeah, oh, that's even better. Go around Sweet Springs, keep going. Yes, and now there, right there, Pismo, go to the right. There, that's Pismo. That's the other part of the loop that does not exist. The other parts of the loop already exist, which would be 10th Avenue, coming back towards Los Osos Valley Road, and then coming across on Los Osos Valley Road. Yes, so like that. They already show that as a trail. So when I talked to Public Works, Josh Roberts, he said, oh, forget it. We can't do a bike path there because it's not a county road and we can't do anything if it's not a county road. But when I talked to Sean Cooper, Parks and Rec, he goes, yeah, we can do something there. In fact, it already exists. So I felt where I was really discouraged when I talked to Public Works, I felt a lot better after I talked to Parks and Rec. So we're just going to continue this dialogue. So, you know, I did reach out. I talked to Bruce when he came to our outreach event. I spoke to Blake about what we're trying to do here. It really comes down to getting Public Works on our side and getting them to say, yes, we're going to do these projects with you. The vice president of SLOCOG being the funding arm for these projects, they're the ones with the money. Public Works is the one that actually constructs it. So the vice president of SLOCOG just happened to be Debbie Arnold. So I did contact her office. At first they said, go talk to Bruce, but I said, no, I want to talk to you about SLOCOG funding. And they said, okay, we'll give you an appointment. So I went in, I sat down with Debbie Arnold and I said, you know, here's what we're trying to do. And we're running into some roadblocks. How can you help us? And she said, well, the best thing to do is get everybody around the table. So that hasn't happened yet, but I remain hopeful that we will be able to get John Waddell and Josh Roberts and some of these people around the table and get them to look favorably on building this Los Osos Valley Road pathway. And I'm happy to take any questions about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it.
Any questions from council or from the public?
Keep up the good work. Keep plugging.
Keep
Keep
plugging.
being in front of it.
Yeah, I'm not giving up. I am continuing to, you know, try. We all need to be on the same page, and I don't think we're there yet, but I think we'll get there
You
eventually.
can get there.
Yeah.
Great report. Thank you. Larry, do you want to present the regular agenda items that are coming from land use?
Yeah. The first item we have is a sign for the new dollar store that's opened up in the Los Osos Valley Road. They wanted to put a sign up there. We discussed it and looked at it, and I think we voted unanimously to recommend the sign as it fell in line with all the other signage there on the property.
Motion to approve, Larry.
Sure.
Well,
All right,
first,
I'll second it.
well, first
Discuss it.
it needs to go to discussion first because it's not on the consent agenda, it's on the
We can
regular
talk about it,
agenda.
but we just get a motion in a second. We discuss next. We're discussing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on council who would like to discuss this? We do need to bring it to the public also after. Okay, is there anyone from the public who has any questions on this? All right, we have.
Do we want to hear from the applicants or no, we don't need to?
I don't think we need to, it's just a sign.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone on this? So we have a motion from Jim.
Larry, you made the motion. I seconded, Trish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can we have a vote, please? All in
All
favor?
in favor?
Yeah.
Sue, I don't see your hand.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, there it is. Thank you. Jan, Sahan, Sue, me, Deborah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And, all right, we have unanimous. Larry, do you want to go on to the Lions project, please?
Okay, and the next project we had was a new house project on Madera Street. And again, the water issue comes up. Land use voted 4-1 to deny recommendation of this project, again, because of the sustainable water supply. Otherwise, we felt the project was a good project, and once the water is determined in our community of being stable and able to support new builds, then we would support this project. Right now, land use didn't think it was appropriate to add more water use.
Okay, and I see that Jeff Edwards is speaking for the owner of the property, correct? If we could unmute him.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Edwards, and I am representing the applicant in this matter. One of the owners, Leanne Watt, is with us tonight, so she may have some comments as well. But so by way of housekeeping, the Lions were the former owners. So please note that the new owners are Leanne Watt and Stephen Brower.
Yeah.
This is a proposal. It's a modest home of about 2,000 square feet on a 20,000 square foot lot. And this lot at 208 Madera is part of tract 1342. And by way of history, tract 1342, while it was approved back in May of 1988, it really does represent a more modern subdivision. And coincidentally, in 1988, it was approved by the California Coastal Commission. And in fact, they made findings that this tract had adequate resources, adequate services. In fact, that's a requirement. So the Coastal Commission has already voted on this project once, the build out of the subdivision. And ironically, back in 1988, Los Osos saw peak water demand. We, the three purveyors, pumped over 2,500 acre feet. Today, those same purveyors, at least in accordance with the 2021 annual monitoring report, pumped 1,026 acre feet.
Okay, this is not on water. We're just talking about this house and this project.
Excuse me, Ms. Bartel. Mr. Bender opened the conversation talking about why this project can't be approved now because of an absence of water, lack of water. I'm speaking directly to that question. So if you'll allow me, I will continue. Today, again, we use 1,026 acre feet. That equates to about 65 gallons per capita per day. And in 1988, we were using, each person, imagine this, was using over 150 gallons a day. We've improved dramatically in that regard. So couple those facts regarding water usage in Los Osos, couple those facts with the requirement that this new residence, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, again, 2,000 square feet, one of the requirements will be that this home retrofit, offsite plumbing retrofit at a 2-to-1 ratio that is savings to demand. The new home's expected to use about 150 gallons per day. That's really tops, but it's going to save 300 gallons per day at considerable expense, I would add. And we've heard the other false narrative, other than the water false narrative, about the ineffectual Title 19 program. Well, I have to disagree. And since 2008, when Title 19 was first implemented, it has it resulted in the conservation through the plumbing retrofit of hundreds of homes. And we still have a lot more water to conserve. So this is a water neutral development by its very nature and based on the retrofit. Now, the applicant is prepared to wait for what I call Title 19 2.0, the amendments that you heard from Mr. Hahn about coming towards the end of the year. That's going to be even a better ordinance, and one that will guarantee the savings that we're talking about. So this is water neutral. So it puzzles me how this committee can talk about denying an application because of inadequate water when the facts are that there is adequate water. So that's the water piece. I'd also like to add, because you've read this or heard this, and I'd just like to talk about it briefly. And that is this project, this property owner is also going to be participating in the published habitat conservation plan. They'll be paying an in lieu fee for the entire square footage of the property. And there's really very little habitat on it, but they're going to be contributing to our community's habitat conservation plan, which, as you may know, directly relates to the formation of a green belt around our community. Hundreds of acres of permanent open space. They're making a contribution. And
Okay,
then lastly,
Jeff, you talked for 4 minutes. Can you talk about the house?
Based on what I've heard from your committee, you're not really interested in the house or what it looks like. I had architectural drawings at the land use, but nobody really wanted to see those. Your committee is focused on water and resources, and so that's what I came prepared to talk about, is water. And so largely water.
Can I see if there's any council members who have any questions for Jeff? Council members first, Lindy. Any council members, questions? Sue?
Okay, this isn't exactly a question, but I'd like to just comment on a couple of things that Jeff said. First of all, I think whatever happened and decisions were made in '88 have absolutely no bearing on today. Times have completely changed in the last 35 years. And as far as the offsets go, I'm sorry that I can't find the exact word now, but in the letter sent by the Coastal Commission, I believe that they say that basically that the offsets are non-starters. They say very specifically that we have a problem with our water in Los Osos, and they are going to deny projects that require new usage that cannot be proven, that they cannot prove that we have a sustainable water supply. They say they're going to deny these things because they're illegal. Our local coastal the LCPs have written in them that if there's not a sustainable water supply, you cannot build on it with extra new water use. And, you know, you can say the county's not going to follow this, that's fine. But then the Coastal Commission goes on to say that the county shouldn't be offering any new permits. And if they are, that it does a disservice to the people who are applying for them. It's giving them false hope, I believe it's their comment. So I'm going to deny this just based on the water use. And yes, it is a big thing, but I think we've discussed this to great lengths and you're not saying anything different than we are. So I think we should just move on with this.
Okay, next up is Deborah.
Yeah, hi, Sue. Thanks. There is a lot in that coastal letter. that I'm not sure how that's going to be handled on the county level. And I think perhaps we have some information coming on that. But here is my concern, and I don't know how to address this, but when we say that we're not going to recommend a project because we need a proven water supply, then it begs the question of, well, what is the number that you need to prove? If you don't have a number, if you don't know what that number is, then we can never prove it. There is a basin management committee, that is their whole purpose, is to maintain the sustainability of the aquifer. Maybe you don't like the job they're doing, or maybe you don't think they're doing their job well enough or fast enough. That's a really good, important discussion to have, and certainly one that I've had when I've attended the meetings. But if we're going to say you have to prove something, then you better tell me what it is that you're looking for to prove it. Because if it's just vague, then it can never be proven. And how are these people who are buying these properties, and you said it beautifully, they're really getting the short end of the stick here, because they think that they're going to be able to build a house, and then all of a sudden they find out, oh, well, actually, maybe I can't build a house after I've spent all this money. So we really have to do something about this. And so I don't have a solution for you. I'm just saying that if we're going to talk about proving something, then you better come with a number of what that number would be.
Thank you, Deborah. Corey Hahn has some clarifications he would like to make.
Hi everyone, Corey Hahn here, County Planning. So I do want to make a few clarification points. The first is, the county's position is that we need to uphold and implement our local coastal program, and that is, that's Title 23, our coastal zone land use ordinance, and the sterile area plan and all that. So when we review projects, if it meets our local coastal program, and the findings can be made for any use permit, it is our obligation to approve those projects if those findings can be made. And then I think I heard someone speak to the question of sustainable water source. I'm guessing that's probably tied to special condition 6 of
No.
Jeff,
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm not muted. Sorry, I did. Yeah,
no,
special 6.
it's not your turn. Let's finish with Corey.
Okay, sure.
Talk to the council, then we'll come back to you.
Very good.
So this project, I believe, is outside of the sewer service area.
Exactly.
So special condition 6 would not apply to this project. If I'm understanding correctly, I looked it up in our mapping system, and it looks like it's outside of the sewer service area. So the condition of the situation with special condition 6 wouldn't apply in this specific instance. And so also speaking to the Coastal Commission's letter, there is a little bit of, there's a disagreement between the Coastal Commission and the county in terms of how the LCP, our local coastal program is implemented. We are working with them to, we just had a meeting with them actually early this week, and we have several more meetings set up to hash things out. And our hope, our goal as from county staff is to establish some understanding of the factual data as it relates to the basin and the sustainability of the basin. And that was a great point by Deborah of like what is considered sustainable, right? And the basin management committee has annual reports, and it shows that over the years we've had trending lower demand, water demand on the basin over time, and that's one of the things that we will be discussing with the Coastal Commission staff to clarify as to what they're looking at, what data sources they're looking at to determine the sustainability of the basin. And those conversations are still to come, and I'd be more than happy to report on them as appropriate.
Thank you.
So those are some minor clarifications I'd like to make. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Corey. Sandra.
Yeah, I had, I guess, a few questions and thoughts and comments. And one of them, Jeff, you had mentioned the applicant's going to wait till the Title 19 comes through and solidifies. So I'm wondering, why are we voting on it now if they're going to wait to develop or do anything until that? And why don't we wait to review all that? I might not understand it correctly, but that was just one question that popped in my mind. The other one is the Coastal Commission letter does hold a lot of weight for me, and I trust, the way they're analyzing numbers. And I think it's super frustrating that property owners are given false hope or misled in certain ways, even as their people are coming in to buy property here. Another big issue for me really is about who is getting allowed to develop. And I think everybody's pulling from the same groundwater basin. And we keep seeing applications, permits coming through to build in Cabrillo Estates, to build outside of the building moratorium or the Zone 6 you talked about, while there's so many people down in Baywood and the number streets with vacant lots that are wanting to build. And for me, it's a justice issue. And I don't want to keep approving, houses in an area that are still pulling from the same water zone when other people that are still waiting still can't build. And I just think that is an inequity issue and it's not right. And so until I feel like I get to see a more just distribution of who gets to build in Los Osos and where, then it's not really okay to let anybody build. So that's one of my main concerns as well.
Okay. Mr. Edwards.
Madam Chair, I'll continue to wait until all the public comments done and then wrap up.
All right, thank you. The next up would be Lindy. Okay, I've asked you to unmute.
Yeah. I am in the belief that we need to hold caution and go very slowly ahead. This approval or application was started 34 years ago, and you cannot keep pulling old ones out of the hat and say, well, they got approved when we had water and we were wasting it. And now we don't know how much water we have. We're definitely looking, I think the purveyors know how much water we have, and they agree that we're in a level 3 severity and that we do not have extra water right now or a sustainable basin. If we want to be reckless and let, a couple houses here, a couple houses there, we're going to be in the same, position of many other communities that have lost their water supply. I wanted to, we still have seawater intrusion. We've had it since the 80s. So we are not solving the problem currently. And I know we all want to be positive about it, the basin refilling and coming back, but we're in a severe drought. I don't think we get to look at that possibility until we get out of a drought and see a huge thing. And, again, this retrofit idea, expected 150 gallons a day. Well, that's all fine and dandy. But if they end up using 300 gallons a day, there's no limit to how much water they can use once they have their permit and their house is built. So I would wish that all new houses have meter monitoring so that they cannot go over what they promise they're going to use. It's a community that's working together to save our basin, and having new people come in. We had an application for a swimming pool, for gosh sakes. Some people are clueless at how severe many of us that have lived here for over 30 years feel about our basin. So I think that we are asking just to go cautiously. When we get information that says that the basin has trended towards refilling and getting enough water for everyone, then yes, I think new houses should be looked at. But I respect the Coastal Commission's decision, and I respect our water purveyors who have shown concern. So.
Thank you, Lindy. Next up is Patrick McGivney.
Thank you. I'd just like to reiterate what Lindy was talking about as far as seawater intrusion goes. One of the definitions of seawater intrusion, or one of the causes of seawater intrusion, is overdrafted basin. And we have been overdrafted for the last 40 years. With all the water that we have saved, with all the water we've been cutting back, we still have seawater intrusion. So just because we have saved the water doesn't mean that we're out of the dark yet with stopping seawater intrusion or even slowing it down. So that's one of our big problems. And also, we didn't save as a community all of our water, cut back on our water use, get rid of our lawns, stop using our showers so much and flushing our toilets all the time to save water so we could have more building. We're doing it to save our water basin. And until we have a water basin that is sustainable, and to answer Deborah's question about the number, what the Coastal Commission is looking for is conclusive evidence, as was found. And, yeah.
Someone mute Jeff,
You are
please.
not muted right now.
Thank you. So that is what they're looking for. Now, when they did condition 6, of course, it was in the approval of our wastewater program being built, the sewer being built. That's what they based condition 6 on over the moratorium area. Well, it's all the same water basin, and the Coastal Commission knows that. So if one area of the water basin doesn't have sustainable water with conclusive evidence, then none of the water basin has conclusive evidence for sustainable water. And what the Coastal Commission is looking for in conclusive evidence is not modeling predictions, or if we get this project done, we'll have this much more water we can pull out. They're looking for hard data, and we don't have hard data. We need more monitoring wells. We really need to start looking at the data that we can show that we have stopped seawater intrusion or slowing it down, and we are on the right path. That is what they're looking for. And that is the number, Deborah, that they are looking for, is conclusive evidence that our basin is sustainable. So definitely I would deny this permit. It will get appealed. And if the Coastal Commission thinks this is a good project or that we have water, they'll approve it. No big deal. So it's not, there's no challenge here. It's just, what does the Coastal Commission think about our water basin at this point? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jeff, if you would like to comment and not talk about water anymore, I think we need to do a vote and discuss the House and have a motion.
Thank you. I would like to just respond to some of the comments I heard. First of all, since 1988, the circumstances in Los Osos have changed dramatically in terms of water use. And in fact, over the last 7 years, we've really hovered right at about 1,000 acre feet. And coincidentally, the population of Los Osos, because I've heard some numbers from some sources that have suggested we were at about 16,000 people or thereabouts. And I have to tell you that the population of Los Osos has remained almost constant at 14,500 for the last 3 decades. So those numbers, the water demand has come down with a constant population. The Coastal Commission, in their now infamous letter, didn't want to even speak to Title 19 because they know it works. And their vague footnote reference to it as an offset program completely ignores the successes it's had. Los Osos is not the first coastal community to have a successful retrofit program.
Okay.
It's just not.
You know what? This is not.
Well, Madam Chair, the applicant was prepared to go last month. They've waited their turn.
That's why I would
We're
like to get a
simply
motion
making
on the
some
table
points.
tonight, Jeff. I would like to get a motion.
I'm almost finished up. I think it's important for this to get on the record. The Coastal Commission, while they call for conclusive evidence, they have none of their own. And I had a conversation with one of their staff people not too long ago, a senior staff person, and he was under the impression that Los Osos used an acre foot per household. And you know, it reflects a complete lack of understanding on the part of the Coastal Commission. And then finally, I'll just conclude by saying that our basin is not an overdraft. If you look at the annual monitoring report that was just prepared, our demand, our collective demand overlying the basin is 2,000 acre feet.
Okay.
And we have a sustainable yield of 2,380 acre feet, which was reduced in a very conservative approach from 2,760 acre feet.
Okay,
So
that's enough water talk. We're here to do a
Madam
motion
Chair,
on this.
again, this is all about water. You've
I know.
made it that.
So I think we've heard everyone's view on water. There's going to be probably 900 different views on water. So tonight we're going to do a motion and see what we can do with this. Do I have a motion coming from council on this project?
The land use chair could make the motion.
Oh, Sue has her hand raised. Oh.
Okay, Sue?
I was just going to make a motion that we deny this for the present, based on the fact that it can't be proven that we have a sustainable water supply.
Okay, Sue made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
That was Larry for the second. All in favor, raise your hand or put your hand up. We have, for yes, we have Jim, Jan, Sue. Who else is on Locac?
Larry?
Sandra, Larry. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5.
How about you, Trish?
That's me. For no, who do we have for no?
Well,
Deborah?
this is what I want to say. I would prefer to amend this motion, and instead of saying, because we don't have a proven water source, I just have a problem with this word proven.
Okay.
That the real reason it's not being approved is because the Coastal Commission will deny this project. And that's, you know, we're just going along with what the Coastal Commission is doing, and that we should be, you know, upfront about that. And we should just say that we're denying this project because the Coastal Commission will not approve this building.
I
And not
believe,
talk about proving
I
things here or
believe
there.
how the bylaws are written, and we can go back in the policies and procedures, but I have to agree to your amendment of my my motion, which is already being passed. So I don't want to amend my motion now. If it doesn't pass, then we can do your wording.
That's fine.
But I'm
I'm
just
making my objection known. That's all.
Okay.
So if I prefer Deborah's wording and I would rather have that in, what do I do?
Well,
Don't support.
Vote down the motion, Sandra.
Yeah.
Well, then if it passes, it's
Well, right now we
Okay.
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with you, Sandra. Yeah, we have 6 with you, Sandra, and 1 no with Deborah, with the current wording.
so Sue, you couldn't rescind your motion to then make a new motion with.
If it's good,
So
no,
different.
because it's already passing. So I don't need to rescind it. Where I'm not voting because the Coastal Commission says they can't. I'm voting no because I believe we don't have a sustainable water supply until it's proven that we have a sustainable water supply. I believe we should be careful and be cautious, like Lindy was saying, be cautious that we have the whole community. We have to
Okay,
we
okay.
have to rely on. And yeah, it's great. The
Got
Coastal
it.
Commission, someone is finally taking a stand to help us out. I'm really grateful to them for that. But that's not why I'm voting. So that's why I think when we originally talked about this motion early on, we are not saying the project is horrible. We're saying the project may be great, but at this point in time, until there's a sustainable water supply, we don't think it prudent that we go forward with getting rid of more and more water, because we see these things every month. So I think that was the reason behind the way it was worded that way.
I think we need to
Sue,
move on. The
Sue.
motion is passed.
Okay.
Yep, okay. So the Lions project, the motion is that it will be turned down, not because it's a bad project, but because of concern with water and just what Sue said. All right, let's move on to C, which is discussion of the May 19th letter from John Waddell, Director of Public Works, regarding the encroachment of public lands. We talked about this quite a bit already tonight. And I would recommend that everyone go walk the 1990 Doris. I walk it almost daily with my dog, so I see what's going on down there. And it's truly not 40 feet left. It's more like 3 feet left. So I'm asking the council, do you want to go on, do anything further after Waddell said that he was approving the owners of 1990 to take a 20-foot strip out of the right of way along Skyline Drive? Are there any comments, any next steps you all want to take? Deborah.
I'd like,
Go, Larry, did you want to say something?
yes, I'd like to say something, but I'll wait. I heard Deborah's name first.
That's fine. I have not walked it. I've looked at it on Google's map. It looks like there's a lot of trees and bushes there, and that's what causes the trail to narrow. Is that the case, Trish?
That is correct. But
Okay,
but I see kids walking on it every day to school.
Right. Yeah, because Doris is where the elementary school is. And it would be a prime location for a trail. Having trees and bushes creates a problem because we can't cut down trees, right? And we can't disturb habitat. So I think we could take this approach with John Waddell, and just like what I said with Supervisor Gibson, you're going to give away that 20 feet to those people. You know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to put up a fence and they're going to landscape, because they're going to take and incorporate that into their yard. So that's, I'm sure it'll be wonderful. But we can't even build a sidewalk. So how is that fair if you can pass off this land to a property owner and they don't have to do any mitigation or any environmental report on it? They're just going to have it. And yet now our trail is being reduced to a footpath, and any opportunity we would have in the future as an active transportation to create a class 1 bike path is really reduced because we have the trees and the vegetation. So I think that is a possible path forward with Public Works. It may or may not work, but I think it's well worth trying.
Okay. Larry.
Having trouble understanding how the Public Works for the county has the right to give away public property.
Well, that's our concern, Jim. That's why we're discussing it, and the neighbors down that path have taken different land that is not even on here. And the land that they have taken has made the path so that is only like it's only a foot wide at certain parts.
Would it be appropriate to send a letter to Director of Public Works boss namely the Board of Supervisors, that we find it offensive that the Director of Public Works would give away public land.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to do, that approach isn't going to work because they do that all the time. They already do that. So what we have to do is
And I think we could follow
document.
up
Yeah, we need to document.
in
what
that
the
letter,
issues are.
make that statement initially, and then follow up with the reasons why
Yeah.
it's particularly offensive to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Larry, you are next.
Yeah, Deborah, I wanted to add, they've already killed all the snails and removed all the endangered plants and everything. They've already landscaped that area before they even have the permit.
Yeah.
If we were to do that on the bike trail or anywhere else in Los Osos, we would be tarred and feathered and run out of town on a rail. But these people already did this. They already took a backhoe to the area without getting any approval, any permits, anything. They've destroyed natural property. Is the one thing I want you to know, and it's important to let the Public Works know this. It's important to let our supervisors know this.
I
It's
think
important
John
to
has
let
made
the
the point.
public
I think John
know
has
it.
made his point, Larry. I think you're exactly right. We need to go to the boss of Larry, John, tell him what we think, and include what you're talking about, Larry. This is taking over the property, just
Yeah.
redeveloping it.
So the
And-
boss
and-
of
and-
John
and-
Wydell is John Diodati. He's the boss. So we would need to go to that level. And of course, his boss is the Board of Supervisors. But seriously, Board of Supervisors does not get down to this granular level that we're talking about right now. So we have to make our case there before we can really get, especially now where with the situation being what it is with Bruce running for election in this new district, and we're not, having somebody who's really responding to us on these
Bruce
issues.
will respond. Bruce
Okay,
will respond.
Okay, Sue's hand is next, and then we're going to go to Sandra.
Okay, I was actually going to say what Larry has said, just so that everybody knows that hasn't been there. The amount that they're taking over, they have completely taken every shred of plant off that area. I think they maybe left one little small tree, but they, like Larry said, they backhoed it. They've put bark chips down. They've killed basically everything. In fact, most people, that's what they do when they're going to build a house. Because, I see them a lot in Cabrillo. By the time the county comes out, they've completely taken everything down, all the plants down, all the snails are dead, so that they can't find any and stop the project. So I think it's, yeah, okay. I've said enough. Thanks. Sorry.
Thank you. Sandra.
I just wanted to move that we submit this letter with those specific points that we don't feel it's right to give away the public land, the hypocrisy that they're going to landscape, which is going to kill the snail, yet we can't do anything else because of that. And then I can't remember what the third point was, but just to document with the images that we have of the backhoes and all that going on.
I wanted to make a comment also, if I could.
And
Yeah, your hand is raised. Are we going to public now, Trish?
Are we done with all council members?
Who would
think
write this
so.
letter? Deborah, would you be willing to write this letter?
How about if Larry and I write it together? I have not walked this path and I'm currently in Colorado. So when I get back, I can take the time to walk it and see, we definitely need to have some evidence and some photographs and take it to, yes. To answer your question, yes.
Thanks. You okay with that, Larry?
Sure.
Great.
I'll go take some pictures.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right. Sandra, your hand's up.
Oh, sorry, that'll do it. But I think we're ready for public and Larry had his hand up. Larry. Rayo.
Yeah, I just, the 80-foot right-of-way was there for a purpose, and that's for sidewalks, right-of-way parking. If somebody was to park in that 1 or 3 foot that's left. Now, is there any access for walkers and all that kind of stuff? So I highly recommend that you guys object to this and write a very strong letter. Gibson did say that it was going to be still put up. It's not the final end that Waddell approves this thing, because it still has to be approved by the Board of Supervisors. But I highly recommend that you guys strongly object, and look at all the reasons why we have an 80-foot wide easement or public right of way. And it's for future use. And the way that Los Osos has worked, is everybody with private property has sort of encroached onto that public access area, knowing that, if somebody says something, they'll have to do something about it. But, it's not written in stone just because they encroach that it can remain. So anyway, I think this is a very good place to make a strong statement and say that you're not going to continue to allow this to happen.
Thank you very much. Next up is Dave and Bev.
Hi, thanks for noticing me. I just wanted to say that this problem is one that we've been told exists on Los Osos Valley Road. And that's because the county apparently gave away property. And now it's impossible, according to County Public Works, to place a bicycle path that would go all the way from Palisades down Los Osos Valley Road to Monarch School. We're told that because a chunk of property there is gone from the public use, because I guess the county gave it away a long time ago, that it's impossible for us to have that bicycle and pedestrian way. So this is an example of something that the county just needs to not do anymore. That's all. And I encourage a good letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just follow up on that, Trish, really quick? That is exactly what John Waddell told me when I asked for the Los Osos Valley Road project. He said there's not enough room because the homes are too close to the road, and we need another 30 feet on the north side of Los Osos Valley Road to give you your bicycle path, which of course isn't going to happen.
No.
So yeah, thank you, Dave.
Lindy, you're up.
Yeah, I walked that path, or the abandoned street project. I think it's been 3 or 4 months when we first looked at it. What I did notice is not only is there a lot of degraded habitat and fire hazard, there is also a lot of property that was already, that pathway is already diminished by the county having given away sections all along. So I think it's a issue that we do need to discuss with the county to say that we're not comfortable with that happening anymore. One thing that I know, this is just a suggestion, but maybe if the property owner were to take that property and there is a financial expense for them to take that and they have to pay taxes on that extra property, somehow there should be a fund. The county doesn't take care of these abandoned streets, period. They will not. We've discussed it before, no matter how bad the fire hazard. They will not even take the fire hazard off of El Moro pathway, which is, I think, 7 blocks that have weeds. And I mean, it's an extreme fire danger. So working with the county, I think that we're going to have to say very strongly what we feel and the reasons that we feel it. Those property owners really had no right to move in and take over that section of 20 feet that they want. And they probably broke some of the habitat protection laws. So I don't know, I want to defend those areas, but I also want us to realize that nobody gets to take care of them. They become whatever they are on their own, even during the drought, and there's a fire hazard.
Okay, we're getting close to the 9 o'clock and we still have all of our business items. So let's move on. Last one, Lisa Danker, please.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to make, if you guys are going out to take photos, there's a curious thing across the street. You can't always see that the trail continues west towards Pecho Road. And the reason being is that that house across the street from the project you're discussing, they've put in a drain rock parking pad. And sometimes it's covered with an RV or a couple trucks. So you actually can't even see the path. You have to wander. It feels like you're wandering on someone's property, and then you find the single track trail, which is just a footpath because you're walking under and over oak limbs to go through. It's quite wonderful, but it's all along there. There are issues where you can't tell who's just taken over public land and who's been given public land. It's very confused on that west section.
I agree. Okay. So we're going to write a letter, and it's going to, the first edition is going to come from Deborah and Larry, and then they'll share it with us. We can make some edits, and we will try to get it out to them in June. Everybody okay? All right.
Sounds
So
good.
let's move on to our business items. So I wanted to talk about committee participation. Committee participation is super important. Every single person who is on Locac must be on the committee. They must be active on the committee. And to be active, you have to participate, and it's a 2 to 3 hours per month on a committee plus Locac. So look at all of the committees we have. They're on the agenda. Look and figure out which ones that you would like to be on for this upcoming year. And then talk to the current chairperson that is on the committee and get yourself signed up, because that's really what we need to do. Any questions? Okay, the nominating committee, schedules for vacancies and discussion. The applications are due on June 6th for all of the nominees. For District 1, we have 2 candidates, Ramona McPeak and Patrick Kimball. For District 2, we have 1 candidate, Tom Cross. For District 3, we have 1 candidate, Larry, and I can't pronounce your name, Rayo. And then for District 4, we have 4 candidates, John Lent, Becky McFarland, David Harris, and Bob Van Reet. So still encourage people to want to be nominated, and we are going to be meeting next month, the nominating committee, to look at the candidates, go through the process that we have outlined, and any questions on that?
Trish, just to let you know, you pronounce my name like R-A-Y-O, Rayo.
Oh, thank you. I will make that little note in my thing, Rayo. Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, the website. I know there's a lot of concern on the website. Lynette has agreed to help during the transition. So I'm going to put together a to-do list, a process to find a solution for the website, and I will send that out to everybody. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And I would like to confirm and get seated Kristen Horowitz. Woohoo! There you are. And Patrick McGivney. And there you are. Welcome. We're very excited. And we can unmute you now because you are participating in the meeting from here on out. So next up is election of chairperson. Do we have any nominees for chair?
I nominate Tristan.
Wow. Okay.
I second it.
I'll third. I'll fourth.
Is there any other nominees, please?
No.
No? Okay. Are you sure? Raise hands. Any other nominees? All right. I guess I can then assume my duty as chairperson and complete the election of officers. Let's make sure that all of council is unmuted. Looks like they are. Who would like to be nominated for vice chair? Come on, somebody.
What is the
I'll
vice chair
nominate
do?
Christine.
Who?
Christine?
Oh, Kristen.
Christian.
I'm happy to do it if you teach me.
Oh, boy, a new
Oh,
victim.
a newbie as vice chair.
It happens to me every time I get in a leadership role. It's fine.
All right, I like it. Jump right in there.
All right. Treasurer. Deborah, would you be willing to continue?
I'll continue doing that. It's not
Owners,
no problem.
I would just throw out here that I'd be willing to take that on from you, Deborah, if it's a problem. You've got
It's not a
your committee that
problem.
you're in.
It's not a problem. I'm happy to do it, but if you want it, I will
But I'm
not
saying
take it
you've
from
got your
you.
committee that's really pretty active and it's very time consuming. And it's the kind of task that I can do. I don't have to go to a meeting, so that's good.
You still have to be on a
second
committee.
Jim.
Okay.
I second it for Jim.
Okay, so that's
Well,
fine.
does Deborah want to continue, or do you want to continue as treasurer, Deborah?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine continuing as treasurer, but Jim, if you want to do that, then I'm happy to give it to you.
I'm thinking something you can give away and it will certainly free you up for the more
I
active
appreciate
part
that.
of your agenda. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
that's why
Okay.
I'm offering.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
get together just to let you know that we're with American Riviera Bank, and so we're doing everything digitally.
Okay.
So,
Can handle. Yeah.
okay, you got it.
Okay. Who
Don't we
would like,
vote?
all in favor of Jim?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so, okay, perfect. What about communications officer? That would do the newsletter. I see a hand up for Patrick. Does that mean you want to do it?
No,
No.
that was not, that was just a hand up.
So the communications officer is really responsible for the website, updating, making sure all the minutes and agendas are up. Hopefully going to do the newsletter, anything that involves communications.
I mean, I'm pretty strong at all of that. So if I can hold two or you can pull me from vice, I can probably do that. No problem.
Yeah.
Whoa.
All right,
That's
well, we better
great.
find another vice then, because I
Yeah.
don't think it's fair to have you come on and do
Then-
two.
I nominate Deborah for vice chair.
What? Oh,
Oh, I agree.
oh, that was tricky.
Hey,
It's your
Sure.
free from treasurer.
I like
Okay, okay.
that.
All
Okay.
right.
Deborah, I mean, we're neighbors. It's easy. We walk
That
across
is
the
true.
street.
That is true. That is true. All right.
All right. So secretary, any nominees for secretary?
wait, did we confirm communications as
Yeah,
Kristen?
confirm. We got to
Confirmed.
re-vote now.
Okay,
Everyone-
so
Okay.
let's revote for vice chair. Let's revote for vice chair. All in favor of Deborah being vice chair? Raise your hand.
I'll vote for myself.
Okay, it is unanimous. Okay. All in favor of Jim being treasurer, raise your hand. Pretty unanimous there, Jim. All in favor of Kristen being communications officer, raise your hand.
Yay.
I
Perfect.
raised two hands.
And then, and Kristen, I don't know if you know what you're getting into. but-
Trust me, I can handle it. It'll be fine.
Okay, good. And then for secretary, who would like to be nominated as secretary?
I'm going
Sue.
to nominate Sue if she's willing to
Sue?
continue. She's doing an outstanding job.
Sue, would you be willing?
Oh, God. Sure.
I second.
Only if you're willing.
I'm
Truly.
willing.
Good, good.
All in favor of Sue being secretary?
Oh, can I make one stipulation first?
Sure.
According to the bylaws and policies and procedures, can some, I'm not supposed to have to do the agenda. Can Deborah, can you work with Trish on
I
that?
will do the agenda. I did it this time. I'll do the agenda.
Okay, good. Okay, then I will be happy to stay secretary.
And then I think we can modify minutes too to make them easier on you, so that when we have long discussions, you just look at, hour 1.3, whatever, on the recording.
Okay. All right. I'll see what I can do with that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I do want to thank so much Jan and Sandra for their years on here and all of their work. And you guys have been just amazing. And I don't know what we're going to do without you. And we're going to keep calling you. So you're not totally off the hook. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.